It's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. Today is May the 30th, and I was looking back at a post from May the 1st earlier today. And I was wondering, did any of my little window starts live? Because we had a cooler spring this year than we've had in years, and some of it was just like too cold for it, but after it got past the freezes, we had some rough winds, and it was really the winds that took out my little fragile window box plants. They just couldn't withstand the wind. I had this little pot on the post that I watched, and everything in it has been changed, absolutely everything, and it did not make it. And it was that really pretty coleus that with the pink and green that I love, that I'd saved in the window, but this one's going to be every bit as beautiful that I've replaced it with. I will miss my little lighter pink and green. And I always hate it when I lose them after I spent so much time trying to save them through the winter, but that's just the way it happened. And this little pot, everything died in it. And I had a beautiful coleus in this one too. It was like bright red with a bright pink stripe inside it, or bars inside it. It's just beautiful. Kingswood Torch, that's the name of the one that was here. And I so hated to lose that, but we're trying again. I'm trying again. And looks like that's raised up a bit there, but okay, it's fine. But what I ended up putting in here this time was the Penta. This is a blue Victorian Salvia, and then all this that's coming up here is the sweet Alyssum. So I'm thinking it's still going to be very pretty. But there were several pots that I had to redo this year for the second time this spring. I also had this little pot on that post that I watched from May 1st. And this little one here had stem rot, and I had clipped it off, and I didn't think it was here either, but look, it's growing. It's a tiny little thing, but oh my goodness, it's beautiful. And so I'm hoping that it will grow up behind this little Colorsaurus and just add to the beauty of this pot. And I can't remember what I planted. I planted seeds. I don't know how long I took planting seeds yesterday, but it seemed like forever. Of course, I was already tired to start with because I had done some liquid edging and done some insecticide. I've already got those little beetles that eat the bloom. I hate it when they eat my bloom. Sometimes they eat them before I even get to see them open, and then I go out expecting to see a big beautiful bloom, and there is none, or else it has bloomed and all the petals have fallen off and there's those beetles in there. But anyway, I sprayed for those, and just was very, very busy yesterday. Actually didn't get in bed till late and didn't get in from the garden until dark. But I got a lot done. I did get things planted, and got my seed box plants in it, so it won't just be sitting there empty, and get to see pretty plants there. Most of them, I think all of them, are zinnias. I did plant some alternanthera seed. I don't know if they will come up. I'm not even sure that my zinnias will, but they usually come up for me, although one year they didn't. But I think the reason they didn't then was because it was just too cool for them. I don't think they germinated. I think they just got too cold and just rotted. But hopefully that won't happen to them. We are supposed to have some cooler weather this week. not cold though. It'll just be lovely, wonderful weather, and I've been praying for that. I've just been praying for weather when you can come out and actually enjoy the garden instead of just suffer through the heat while you're out here taking care of it. And also, I was mentioning my little color sorrows, and this little plant did come out of the window. So it's back in the garden, and actually it was doing so good that I clipped a little top of it off and put over on this side, and this one is doing good. Now you can tell that it has its own little root going now. It would never look that great if it didn't have. So we've got two of them going now, and hopefully they will look good in this. I've got something coming up from seed right back here. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be beautiful. We'll look back and see when it blooms. And I don't think anything lived in here that I transplanted, although I did put this tiny little hosta in there, and it's looking like it's doing good. It's not getting big, but it's looking healthy. And today I noticed that I have some little asters there. Those little pink asters are blooming and looking great right beside it. And when I looked earlier, I didn't notice that this had any blue on it, but this little blue salvia will soon be a little spike of blue salvia on top of it. This pot looks a little bit bare, but if you can look down in there and see those tiny little things coming up, those are alyssum, and that should trail over the pot and be beautiful by the end of the season. And there's a couple of little periwinkle in there too that might give us some color later on. And I don't know what's going on with these little periwinkle, because periwinkles usually just do great, but there's two here that are just looking like they're dying. If they don't do something soon, they probably are not going to live. Now this is also a periwinkle. This is a trailing periwinkle, and it thankfully is doing great, as is this little one here in the back. That's also a periwinkle. So I may have to replace those two in this pot also. And then from the May 1st post, this little one right here was just looking great. And now it's totally gone. But I put a little piece of the one from front in there, and I'm thinking that, and it's doing good. If it'll just keep doing that good, it's going to grow up and fill up the remaining part of this little pot. I put a picture of this on my or ready to go on my Instagram. It's not on there yet, but it turned out so pretty. I just love these double impatiens. I love impatiens, period, but the double ones are just so pretty. A little extra something about them. But I also wanted to say about this little pot, because I looked at it too. It was on my May the 1st post, and these coleus were the little tender coleus that I put in here from the window. You cannot even tell it now. They have thickened up. They're not so scraggly anymore. They're looking great. And don't you just love this little what was it called? Tangerine tattooed periwinkle, I believe, and it's so pretty and goes so well with these. So maybe because they were protected a little bit more, being back behind that and this little girl in front of them, it gave them enough protection from that wind that it didn't destroy them, and they're doing good. There's another one in this little pot too, right back here. This one also came out of the window. It's small, but you can tell it's getting healthy, and I think it's going to go ahead and do good in this pot too. So I'm not sure, but if I find some more little surprise ones that made it, I will show those to you later too. That's all the ones I'm thinking of right now. But when I saw that, I thought I've got to go out and see if I have any that came back from the window, but I did. So I'm not totally discouraged about doing that, and I'll probably try to do it again. It's hard to let them go without even trying to save them. It's then being cold weather when I first put them out that gets my little starts from the window, or hot weather, because usually our heat comes early and stays. That's what it's been doing for several years now. That this year it didn't really come early, though we've had a few hot days. They just haven't lasted at all, and there's been some very pretty days with nice cool weather for enjoying the garden. Following them, look at this pretty penstemon, and of course that beautiful butterfly plant, or butterfly weed, I think is what it's called most of the time, but and I can't remember its botanical name. It starts with an A-S something or other, but it's pretty, and it is the host plant for the monarch butterfly. This little pot hasn't done much of anything, but it does have some starts in there, so I'm going to leave it and see what happens. And this little pot, it had some starts of some volunteer petunias, which are now blooming. And it's got a little bit of a mum in there. It's got, of course, the lamb's ear, which was the original plant I had in there, and some of these others I think are just all volunteer. I may have planted a little piece of a mum in there at one time, and if it takes over, that'll be fine too, but I do hope I get to keep my lamb's ear. And I noticed there was one of the petunias blooming in this pot too. Of course, the larkspur is going strong all over the garden. It's so pretty, but I am going to have to start pulling it up when it starts going to seed, because it is definitely, last year was its first year to start to become invasive and just overtake things. So as beautiful as it is, I don't want it to be the only plant I have in my garden. And it kept the sun. You can tell how that would be possible right here, how thick it is in this one little spot. And then below it is iris. All down in here are irises. So I'll need to pull some of this up before too long, and I don't want to let them go until they don't get sun and just die on me, because I want my pretty irises there, and I can have these in other spots, although I like them mixed in with the iris, because weeds of some kind just seem to have to grow up in between them, and that's hard to get rid of. So actually it's easier just to pull the larkspur up whenever it's done and spent, and then there's less chance of the seedlings coming up from something else, because in the spring they're ready to go. They're fun hunting a spot to thrive in. But back to seeing if I have any starts from the window box that made it over here, and so far I don't. Well, this is one right here, of course. This is the one I took the little start I just showed to you in the back with the purple veining, and I think this will come more distinct as it gets bigger and more mature. This is Kingswood Torch. This is what I had in the one in the back too, but it died out. But this one thankfully is looking great, and I'm actually going to reach in there and just pull that little seed head off, because it helps them to grow thick and wide and not just grow tall and spindly. Although in the fall, sometimes I actually like to leave the seed heads on, because I think they're pretty. I think that little bloom, which is called insignificant, looks pretty good in the fall with its little spike up there of soft little flowers. And my purple shield is still purple. I know everybody says it's always purple, but mine is not always purple. Mine has a tendency to turn. If you can look at this little leaf right here, I can get it and just in focus. I don't know if I can do that. It's not wanting to focus in without getting the whole plant. But anyway, that's the way mine usually turn, and sometimes even kind of brown. And this beautiful color I lose, but hopefully I won't lose it this time. And I'm thinking that this is one of the plants that I got from the window. Maybe you can't really tell it because it does look healthy. Now the sided, I lost all the impatiens out of this little pot, but I found some of these little polka dot plants. I didn't really know what I was going to replace those with, and I found those, and I think they're going to be perfect. It looks good there. And then I have another one over here where these died out due to the snails and roly-polies, I'm sure, but I have another one here, and it's looking great. This little plant made me so proud. It did so well, and for me anyway, in the house, but it's looking awfully puny right now. I need to take that out and take some of those old dead leaves out, so hopefully the healthy part of it will be able to shine. And I had to move my Lenten roses from under where they were under the tree, and we lost the pear tree, so they needed shade, but evidently they're not getting enough here, or something is not looking good about these, and they're so beautiful normally. So I'm hoping this one still looks fairly healthy, but the others are looking bad. Oh, this is one too, and I didn't even recognize it because it's still looking good. I don't know what the deal is here, but hopefully be able to figure it out and keep the other ones from dying, because I want them to all be beautiful. And this is another place where I filled in where plants had died out with the polka dot plant. And I'm not really seeing any other place right now where I put my little starts from the window. So I did lose more of them than I've ever lost this year, and it was all because of the wind. We had several days, and at least 2 in a row, that it just stayed so windy, and they had just been put out a few days, and they were not strong enough to withstand that. If they've been out and had some of that for a while, a little gently, a little more gently at a time, and then again, but since it just came and stayed, they just didn't have much of a chance, so they didn't very many of them make it, but I'm just grateful for the ones that did, and that I was able to fill them up with some new plants. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? And these are those tiny little starts that I just broke off and started in there, which they may still seem small to you. They seem pretty great to me. This is another one where I just started them, and they're already purple and got their little foliage started good on them, and they will soon just be really thriving and filling these pots out even more. And I can see right behind it there that I'm losing another impatient back there. Oh, those snails. And I've been putting diatomaceous earth. I've been putting, I even sprayed them with a liquid spray that said it would help with roly-polies or kill roly-polies. So I've just got to keep fighting them. This is a little pot that I did just recently. And well, actually it was already done. I took it in the house, but it was, as you can see, I had to put some fresh coconut liner at the top of it, and it was just dying in there. So I took the little dead pieces out and clipped off the ends of them and put fresh rooting powder on them and put them back down in some fresh dirt. And then this little copper plant was just what I saved through the winter too. and it was in the pot, and it was just so scraggly, which it's still scraggly, but you can tell it's already getting healthy, and I think it will just go on and get more healthy from there. Oh, here we go. These are little ones from the window, and that's beautiful. It's small, but it's beautiful. I had 2 of these in there, and the roly-polies and snails killed one of them, and I thought this one was dead, but it's beginning to come out of it, so that's great. If they'll just come out of it, they'll get healthy and beautiful. It doesn't really take them long, but it's just that the snails love them so much. And then I clipped, this is my Tyrannia plant, and it looked like this one over here. It looks so big and pretty, but I guess they must have got it too. I think it was roly-polies. I actually found one on it, so I clipped it back, and I'm hoping they'll come back out of it, but I'll just have to wait and see on that. And there's another one right here. It's small, but it's really healthy. It's the most healthy of all of those that I showed you here in the front. It's looking great, and hopefully it'll just keep looking good. I may be even able to take a little start of it and start it somewhere else too. And this is the little pot that died out in the back, and the roly-polies were the culprits there too, I know. But I filled it back up again with some more purslane moss, and I'm afraid to take it back there. I'm afraid they'll do it to it again. But I'm going to spray it down good, or put some eliminator there and try it again. But we are supposed to have 3 days of rainy weather, and I'm hoping we get it all 3 days. Good soaking rain. We've actually only had one really good soaking rain. It was 3/4 of an inch. So I'm hoping that we get like an inch or more out of all the what's supposed to be coming. But I know it's been predicted before, and it was all around us, but it seemed to miss us. I told you that my seed box is not really poppies at all. I planted this full of poppy seeds, so I just knew these were poppies before I even really checked them out that much, because I didn't plant anything but those poppies here, and they're not. They're bells of Ireland, which I still love these, and I did transplant a few of them around in different spots, so I'm hoping I get them to come up from seed in several places in the garden. So anyway, that's what those are. The only ones that were poppies were these 3 right at the end. And then I just went ahead and put seeds in this last night. And I do mean last night, because it was totally dark when I watered it down. But hopefully it'll get another, I did sprinkle it with water today, and hopefully it'll get another good soaking rain tonight. And hopefully we'll have little zinies all totally filled this seed box up. So just a short time ago, I was telling you we could kiss April goodbye, and now here we are, ready to kiss May goodbye. And there's a lot of work. Just imagine all the work that people have done all over with that chocolate plant is looking so good too, that I planted back here. Only thing is, I'm hoping it does not crowd out my hostas that are started back there too, because I want them to get a chance to be big and beautiful, like this one right here, and this one here beside it. But back to imagining how much work people have done. I can't even imagine the work that I've done myself. It's just been so much. It's been overwhelming at times. But, it's also great when you look back and see the beauty and see the things that work. And when they don't work, how you just go ahead and try something else there. And hopefully this is my bougainvillea, and I just love it. It's came back now, I think 3 years, and I know it's scraggly, but it looks great to me, and I can't wait for it to bloom. I hope it blooms soon. Look at this pretty little hosta right kind of hidden there, but isn't that a beautiful color? Beautiful contrasting shades of green. Oh, and guess what I'm seeing? These, let me see if I can get down there where you can see them. This is from the window. This little one here is from the window. And listen, there's a tree growing up there that's just from a seed. So we don't want that in there. But these both are from the window too. So that's great that I have these coming up. And they will get big and beautiful. And it won't take them too awfully long to do it. Once they get healthy and get going, they just really come right on up. In most cases, that's what they do. Of course, that's also dependent if the roly-polies and things will leave them alone. And then here's some more of the pretty, healthy hostas. So my hostas have done well for me here, and I hope they continue to do so. This is a new one right back here, and I'm hoping it will fill that pot up too, at least the front part of it, and then that little chocolate plant can go ahead and shine in the back would be great. We're having such a hard time getting these tree roots, and this one is so gigantic. Been here for no telling how many years, and then it had to die. But anyways, I miss it, but I'm anxious to get these cleared up enough. I guess I'll just see what I can do to kind of rearrange it and make it look pretty, and let it go a while, and hopefully it'll eventually rot out. All over the garden now, as we tell May goodbye and June is coming on, the lilies are becoming the most, the thing that you see most in the garden that'll be blooming will be the lilies. This is that pretty catmint that just lasts and lasts, and then when it no longer is blooming, you can shear it off and it'll bloom again in the fall most usually. So, but I still have lots to do. I still want to clip my mums down. As you can tell, they get so tall that they just flop over when they get wet. And I want to take a bunch of this down to by half or even lower, because last year I didn't get them down far enough. They just grew back tall again, and by the time they bloomed, they were still tall and flopping over. Not all of them, but a lot of them were. So I want to get that done this week, if at all possible. The first part of June, if I can. So I need to do that. I still need to divide, and especially if we get that rain that I'm hoping for, we'll get to divide. I'll get to divide my candy tuft and some of my scabiosa and put them in different places. This is one here in the front, and then I have another in the back, but you can tell they're kind of just clumping up there, and I'll need to divide that so it doesn't just end up killing itself out. But it has a big, I think it might be called Fama scabiosa, big pretty blue bloom on it, and it would look pretty just about anywhere in the garden like sun. So I need to do that. And I put some of the catmint in this little pot right here. You can see it's just a tiny little thing, but it will grow. And then all around it, I did go ahead and put some zinnia seeds. So hopefully they will. I love the seeds, even though they're kind of a pain to deal with. And then I wait until last after I get the other plants in. But this is still the soonest I've gotten my seeds in, I believe. I know last year I was so late. I think it was the end of June or maybe the 1st of July before I got them in. So hopefully, but the good thing about seeds is, I just forget which ones I put there usually. I know it's a zinnia, but I have no idea which zinnia I put there. And so, surprise when it blooms. Like, I love those kind of garden surprises. And I still haven't cut back my iris and peonies. I need to do that still, so that's another thing I want to get done in the month of June. And this little pot here, I have this pretty pink, pastel pink yarrow, and it's blooming, so you can see how pretty it is. And I still need to get my little pear tree planted. My husband has the tree stump pretty much out as much as he's going to be able to get it out there in the back. So I'm going to just plant it as close to where it was as I can. And hopefully it'll do good there in years to come. And right here is that other little plant that needs to, I went back to the back, but this one also needs to be divided very badly. So I need to get that dug up, divided, and put in different places in the garden. This is one of the mums that's just so tall that I've got to get that done, and hopefully it's going to be winding down where it won't be quite so much work other than keeping it watered. But look at this beautiful lily, which I'm sure I've shown to you at least on my Instagram. But maybe, I don't know if I've got it in one of my YouTube posts or not, but if not, I do now. So, and these are some of the pots that I also put over here, are some of the pots that I just went ahead and put some little seeds in. So we'll have little surprises coming up there through the summer too. Remember, this is where that stump was, and my husband was able to get this one out of there. And so I took this little pot and put it over here where it was sitting on my little bench, and now you could actually sit here. I think I already showed you that I did this little pot too, which is, it's not really coming into its own yet. It's still scraggly looking, but when it does, I think it's going to be beautiful. I kind of hated to move this little plant here, this little lily, away from this little Diana, Princess Diana clematis, because they just look so good together. This beautiful I don't know what you call that, burgundy red or fuchsia pink or somewhere in between that, but it just brought out this little bar in here and made it look brighter and more beautiful. That's another thing I like about the garden, how the colors just either match or contrast or just blend, and just you just notice the colors even more in the garden and in nature. So I hope you're doing something fun on Memorial Day, and thank God for all the people who fought for our freedom. And remember all our loved ones that have passed away. They're still a part of our life. Their strengths and their character has helped mold what we are, just like the ones that fought for our freedom have made our country as great as it is. And I know that we have our faults and failures like every other country, but we are a great country. And we have a great God. Look how this little coleus has grown. It's definitely coming into its own. Oh, and over here is my desert candle blooming. Isn't that wonderful? I didn't know I had one over here. I knew I planted some here, but I honestly thought that they all died. But I have one, and I planted some more, but I see no sign of them. So hopefully I will get some of them, but I just don't know until they come up. And this little coleus is not really coming to its own yet, but you can tell it looks healthy, and I just love the colors on this. It's so pretty. The pretty little hardy geraniums are beginning to bloom too. And it won't be long till they cover these little girls up, and I'll have to come out here and clip them back so you can see the little fairies. So time is moving on, and the garden is moving on. That busy, busy time. April has gone, and May is going away, and June is right up on us, and we'll just see what happens in June and the rest of the summer in the garden, all the way up to our grand finale in the fall when we tell it goodbye. So we got to enjoy it while we can, just like life. We've got to enjoy it while it's here. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.